I set up 40 chairs. Only 3 people showed up, and none of them were my family. Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm about to tell you the story of how my family forgot the most important day of my pregnancy, and how their casual dismissal led me to make a decision that changed everything. What started as a simple baby shower became the moment I realized I'd been funding my own abandonment for 10 years. Let me take you back to 3 weeks before my due date. I was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, but excited about celebrating my first baby with the people who mattered most. I spent weeks planning every detail of my baby shower. I handpicked the decorations, ordered custom cookies shaped like tiny onesies, and even created a playlist of songs that reminded me of childhood. I wanted this day to be perfect because, honestly, I needed it to be perfect. See, this wasn't just about celebrating a baby. This was about finally feeling like I belonged somewhere in my family's priorities. Growing up, I was always the quiet one, the one who didn't rock the boat, the one who smiled and nodded when plans got changed at the last minute. I was the peacekeeper, the one who made excuses for everyone else's behaviour. I remember my high school graduation like it was yesterday. I walked across that stage, searching the crowd for familiar faces, but my family's seats were empty. They'd forgotten. Not because of an emergency or some unavoidable conflict, they'd simply forgotten. When I called them afterward, my mum said, "Oh, honey, we thought it was next week, but congratulations." Like it was just a minor scheduling mix-up instead of one of the biggest moments of my teenage life. Then there was my wedding planning. I dreamed of having my mum and sister help me pick out my dress, maybe make it one of those bonding experiences you see in movies. But every time I brought it up, they were too busy. My sister had a new boyfriend she was obsessed with. My mum was dealing with some drama at work, and my dad was, well, my dad, emotionally unavailable as always. I ended up going dress shopping alone, taking selfies in the fitting room to send to friends because I'd no one there to see me try on the most important dress I'd ever wear. The pattern continued when I announced my pregnancy. I'd practiced the announcement for weeks, imagining their excited reactions, maybe tears of joy, definitely hugs. Instead, I got lukewarm congratulations and immediate concerns about the cost of having a baby. My sister actually said, "Oh great, another baby shower I'll have to buy a gift for." Not congratulations, not excitement, just annoyance about the financial obligation. But I kept believing that maybe this time would be different. Maybe becoming a grandmother would awaken something in my mom. Maybe being an aunt would make my sister care. Maybe this tiny human growing inside me would finally make me important enough to matter. So 3 weeks before my due date, I sent out the baby shower invitations, beautiful cream-coloured cards with gold foil lettering that I'd spent way too much money on. I included all the details: time, date, location, even a little note about how excited I was to celebrate with everyone. I sent them to my parents, my sister Emma, my brother Mike, and a few close friends. The friends responded immediately with enthusiasm. But the family group chat? Radio silence. I watched as the read receipts appeared under my messages, but no responses came. Days turned into a week, then 2 weeks. I started making excuses in my head and also... With 1 week to go, I finally worked up the courage to ask directly in the group chat, "Hey everyone, just confirming for Saturday, who's able to make it to the baby shower?" The response came 3 hours later from my mum. "Oh, honey, we didn't think it was that important. It's just a party, right? Just a party." Those 4 words hit me like a physical blow. I sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot, reading that message over and over, feeling my baby kick inside me as if responding to my emotional turmoil. This wasn't just a party to me. This was supposed to be a celebration of new life, of new beginnings, of finally having something that would connect me to my family in a meaningful way. My sister chimed in next. "Besides, isn't it just an excuse to get free gifts? I mean, you already have everything you need." The casual cruelty of that statement took my breath away. This woman who I'd helped through every breakup, every financial crisis, every dramatic life event, reduced my celebration to a gift grab. Then my brother added his perspective. "Yeah, we already had plans this weekend anyway. Maybe next time plan further ahead?" Next time. This was my first baby. There might not be a next time, and even if there was, would I want to go through this humiliation again? I drove home in a daze, my husband asking what was wrong when he saw my face. How do you explain to someone that your own family thinks the celebration of your first child isn't worth 2 hours of their time? How do you put into words the deep, aching realization that you've been fooling yourself about your place in their lives? Saturday morning arrived grey and drizzly, matching my mood perfectly. I'd already called and cancelled with the venue the day before. There was no point in paying for a space for 3 people. Instead, I set up everything in our living room. I hung the streamers, arranged the flowers, set out the custom cookies, and tried to summon some enthusiasm for the few friends who would be there. Sarah, my college roommate, arrived first with a huge smile and an armload of presents. "I'm so excited," she squealed, giving me the biggest hug my belly would allow. "Where should I put these? And oh my God, you look amazing. How are you feeling?" Her genuine excitement was like a balm to my wounded heart, but it also highlighted the stark contrast with my family's indifference. Here was someone who'd known me for less than a decade, treating this day with more reverence and joy than the people who'd known me my entire life. My neighbour Mrs. Chen came next, bearing homemade dumplings and stories about her own children. "First baby is so special," she said, in her accented English, patting my hand. "You will be wonderful, Mother. I can tell." And that was it. 3 people celebrating what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my pregnancy. I kept glancing at my phone, still holding on to some pathetic hope that my family might change their minds, might show up fashionably late with apologies and explanations. But the only messages I received were automated reminders about various bills and subscriptions. As we sat there opening gifts, a car seat from Sarah, tiny clothes from Mrs. Chen, and a heartfelt card from my husband who had to work but would be home later, I felt this strange detachment from my own life. Here I was, going through the motions of celebration while feeling more alone than I ever had. "Your family couldn't make it?" Sarah asked gently, clearly noticing the obvious absence. "They were busy," I said, the lie tasting bitter in my mouth. Mrs. Chen frowned, clearly not understanding how a family could be too busy for such an important event, but she was too polite to say anything. After everyone left and I was alone with the remnants of my failed celebration, I sat in one of those 40 chairs I'd optimistically set up. The weight of realization settled over me like a heavy blanket. This wasn't just about a baby shower. This was about a lifetime of being treated as an afterthought, of having my needs and feelings consistently ranked last in my family's priorities. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, something I'd been avoiding thinking about, but suddenly felt compelled to examine. As I scrolled through my automatic payments, a pattern emerged that made my stomach drop. Month after month, payment after payment, I'd been quietly funding my family's lives while they couldn't even fund 2 hours of their time for mine. My mum's car insurance, $180 a month. I'd started paying it 3 years ago when she'd complained about the cost, and somehow it had just continued. My dad's phone bill, $120 a month, because he'd convinced me that staying connected was important for family. My sister Emma's student loan payment, $340 a month, a temporary help that had lasted 2 years and counting. My brother Mike's gym membership, $89 a month, because staying healthy is important, and he was between jobs again. The family streaming services, the emergency fund I'd set up for their various crises, the money I'd been contributing to their anniversary dinners and birthday celebrations, it all added up to nearly $1,000 a month, $10,000 a year for 10 years. I'd been their silent ATM, their reliable safety net, their go-to solution for financial problems. And in return, they couldn't even pretend to care about the most important milestone of my adult life. Sitting there, surrounded by baby shower decorations and the echo of their casual dismissal, something inside me shifted. The quiet, accommodating Jessica, who'd spent 30 years making excuses for other people's behaviour, was done. Done being the understanding one, done being the reliable one, done being taken for granted. I looked at my phone again, this time with new eyes. If I wasn't important enough for 2 hours of their time, why was I important enough to fund their lifestyle? If my milestones didn't matter to them, why should their financial comfort matter to me? For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't thinking about what they needed from me. I was thinking about what I needed for me, for my husband, for the baby growing inside me who deserved a mother, with enough self-respect to stop enabling people who clearly didn't value her. The decision crystallized in that moment, clear and certain as the baby's heartbeat during my last ultrasound. I was done being their family bank. If they wanted to treat me like I didn't matter, they could fund their own lives like I didn't exist. I opened the family group chat one more time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then, without typing a single word of explanation or goodbye, I did something I'd never done before. I left the chat just like that. Years of family communication cut off with a simple tap. But that was just the beginning. Over the next hour, I methodically went through every app, every automatic payment, every financial connection I had to their lives. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Each tap of the screen felt like taking back a piece of myself I'd given away without ever being asked if I wanted to. My mum's car insurance cancelled. Dad's phone bill cancelled. Emma's student loan cancelled. Mike's gym membership cancelled. The family Netflix account cancelled. The Spotify family plan cancelled. The emergency fund I'd set up for their various crises closed and transferred to a new account they couldn't access. 10 years of financial support erased in an hour. 10 years of being taken for granted ended with a series of confirmation emails that felt like breaking chains I hadn't even realized I was wearing. As I sat there in the quiet of my living room, surrounded by the remnants of a celebration they deemed unimportant, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, free. For the first time since I'd started working, my money was going to stay mine. For the first time since I'd become an adult, I wasn't responsible for managing everyone else's problems. Tomorrow, they would wake up to a very different reality. Tomorrow, they would discover that the daughter and sister they'd taken for granted had finally learned to value herself exactly as much as they did. Tomorrow, the consequences of treating someone as unimportant would become crystal clear. But tonight, I was going to enjoy the quiet, put my feet up, and start imagining a future where my generosity went to people who actually appreciated it. Starting with the little one who would be here soon, who would grow up in a house where their mother knew her own worth. The baby kicked then, as if agreeing with my decision, and for the first time all day I smiled. A real smile. The kind that comes from finally standing up for yourself after a lifetime of sitting down. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting indeed. I woke up Monday morning feeling lighter than I had in months. My husband had already left for work, and I was enjoying a rare quiet breakfast when my phone started buzzing. The first notification was innocent enough, a text from my mum asking about some recipe she wanted to try, but then the calls started. At 9:47 a.m, my mum called. I let it go to voicemail. At 10:15 a.m, she called again, then my sister at 10:23 a.m, then my brother at 10:41 a.m. By noon, I had 17 missed calls and counting. The first voicemail was confused. "Hi, honey, I'm getting some weird message about my car insurance being cancelled. I think there might be a mistake with the payment. Can you call me back?" The second was more urgent. "Jessica, I really need you to call me back. My car insurance definitely got cancelled, and I have to drive to work tonight. This has to be some kind of error." By the fifth voicemail, panic was creeping in. "Jessica, what's going on?" "My phone service just got cut off too. I'm calling from your father's phone. Please call me back immediately." I made myself a cup of tea and listened to each message with a calmness that surprised me. For 30 years, these panicked calls would have sent me into immediate crisis mode. I would have dropped everything to fix their problems, to smooth over whatever emergency had disrupted their day. But sitting there, 8 months pregnant and finally clear-headed, I felt nothing but a strange sense of justice. The messages from my sister started around 11 a.m. "Jess, I got a notice that my student loan payment was missed. I know you've been handling that, so I'm sure it's just a mistake. But can you check on it? I really can't afford to have my credit messed up right now." An hour later. "Jessica, I really need you to call me back. The loan company is saying the account has been closed completely. This has to be some kind of fraud or identity theft. We need to fix this ASAP." My brother's messages followed a similar progression from confusion to concern to outright panic. "Hey sis, my gym said my membership was cancelled. I know you set up the auto pay, so maybe your card expired or something. Let me know what's up." Then, "Jessica, what the hell is going on? I can't get into the gym, Netflix isn't working, and Mum is freaking out about her car insurance. Are you okay? Did someone hack your accounts?" By 2 p.m, they'd apparently figured out how to conference call from my dad's phone because I received a voicemail with all three of them talking over each other. "Jessica, we need you to call us back right now." My mum's voice, tight with stress. "This is seriously messed up." My sister in the background. "Did someone steal your identity?" My brother adding to the chaos. "We can't figure out what happened, but everything you've been paying for just stopped." My mum continued. "We need you to call the companies and get this sorted out today." I deleted the voicemail without finishing it. Around 3 p.m, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognise. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Jessica!" It was my sister calling from someone else's phone. "Thank God, we've been trying to reach you all day. What's going on with all the payments? Is everything okay?" For a moment, I almost fell back into my old pattern. The urge to smooth things over, to apologize for the confusion, to immediately start fixing their problems was deeply ingrained. But then I remembered Saturday. I remembered sitting alone in my living room, surrounded by decorations for a celebration they couldn't be bothered to attend. "Everything's fine," I said calmly. "Fine, Jessica. Mum's car insurance got cancelled. My student loan payment bounced. Mike can't get into his gym. And half our streaming services aren't working. How is that fine?" "Those aren't my problems anymore," I said, and the words felt foreign, but right in my mouth. There was a long pause. "What do you mean they're not your problems? You've been handling all of this stuff. And now I'm not." "But why? What happened? Did we do something?" The innocence in her voice was almost laughable. "You really don't know?" "No, that's why I'm calling. Everything was fine on Friday, and now nothing works." "What changed?" "Saturday changed things," I said quietly. Another pause. "Saturday? What about Saturday?" "My baby shower, Emma, the one you said wasn't important." I could hear her intake of breath. Jessica, come on. You're not seriously upset about that, are you?" "We explained that we had other plans." "You didn't have other plans. You just didn't think it was worth your time." "Look, I'm sorry if your feelings got hurt, but we can't drop everything for every little party." I hung up. The phone rang immediately. I declined the call. It rang again, declined again. After the 5th call, I turned it off completely. That evening, my husband came home to find me sitting peacefully on the couch, reading a book about infant development. "How was your day?" he asked, giving me a kiss on the forehead. "Quiet," I said with a smile, "very quiet." He raised an eyebrow at my phone, which was still turned off on the coffee table. "Everything okay?" "Better than okay," I said, and meant it. The next morning brought a new wave of chaos. My phone had accumulated 37 messages overnight, plus voicemails and missed calls. But there was something different in the tone now. The confusion had shifted to anger. My mum's voice was sharp. "Jessica Marie, I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but I had to call in sick to work because I can't drive without insurance. This little tantrum of yours is affecting my job." My sister was more direct. "This is ridiculous, Jess. I get that you're upset, but punishing all of us because we missed one party, really, this is so petty." My brother had apparently figured out the cause. "Okay, I get it. You're mad about the baby shower thing. Message received. Now, can you please fix this mess so we can all move on?" But it was the group message that really showed me how little they understood. "Jessica, we're willing to apologize for the baby shower misunderstanding, but you need to restore all the payments today. This has gone on long enough." Willing to apologize for the misunderstanding. I screenshot that message and saved it. Not because I planned to share it, but because I wanted to remember this moment, the moment I realized they still didn't get it. They thought this was about one missed party. They thought a simple apology would reset everything back to normal. They thought I was having a tantrum that would blow over if they just waited it out. They had no idea that Saturday hadn't been the cause of my decision. It had been the final straw. I turned my phone back off and went about my day. I had a doctor's appointment where everything looked perfect with the baby. I had lunch with Sarah, who couldn't believe the story when I told her. I went grocery shopping without checking my phone every 5 minutes, without fielding crisis calls, without managing anyone's life but my own. It was the most peaceful Tuesday I'd had in years. By Wednesday, They'd escalated to showing up at my house. I was folding baby clothes, a mindless, soothing activity that had become my new meditation. When the doorbell rang, through the peephole, I could see my sister and my mum standing on my front porch, both looking harried and determined. I didn't answer. The doorbell rang again, then again. Then my sister started knocking. "Jessica, we know you're in there. Your car is in the driveway. Open the door." I continued folding tiny onesies, each one a reminder of the future I was building for my child. A future where people showed up when they said they would, where celebrations mattered, where love was demonstrated through actions, not just words. "Jessica," my mum's voice, now using the tone that had made me jump to attention as a child. "This is ridiculous. Open this door right now." They knocked for 10 more minutes before giving up. I watched from the upstairs window as they stood in my driveway, clearly arguing about what to do next. Finally, they got back in my mum's rental car. I noticed it wasn't her usual car and realised the insurance situation was more serious than I'd thought, and drove away. That afternoon, my husband came home, early from work, looking concerned. "Your mum called my office," he said carefully. "She says you're not answering your phone and she's worried about you." I looked up from the nursery where I'd been assembling the crib. "What did you tell her?" "That I'd check on you." "She seemed to think you might be having some kind of breakdown." I laughed and it felt good. "A breakdown? No, I think I'm finally having a breakthrough." He sat down beside me on the nursery floor, among the scattered crib parts and instruction manual. "Do you want to talk about what's happening?" So I told him everything, the years of financial support, the pattern of being taken for granted, the baby shower, the decision to stop funding their lives. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more understanding with each detail. "You've been paying Emma's student loans for 2 years?" he asked incredulously. "And Mike's gym membership and Mum's car insurance and Dad's phone bill and the family streaming accounts?" "Jesus, Jess, that's almost $1,000 a month. $974 to be exact." He was quiet for a long moment, processing. "And they missed your baby shower? Because it wasn't important?" "Just a party, according to Mum. But your money is important enough to keep their lives running smoothly." Apparently so. He helped me attach the crib rail, both of us working in comfortable silence. Finally, he said, "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For finally putting yourself first. I've watched you bend over backwards for them for years, and they just take it for granted. They take you for granted." That evening, we had our first family crisis meeting, except it was just the two of us, sitting on our couch, planning our future without the constant drain of managing other people's problems. "What will you do with the extra money?" he asked. I thought about it. $974 a month, nearly $12,000 a year. "The baby's college fund," I said without hesitation. "Music lessons, family vacations, things that actually matter to our family." "Our family," he repeated, and I loved the way that sounded. Not the family I'd been born into, but the family we were choosing to build. Thursday brought the lawyers. Well, not actual lawyers. But my brother called, claiming he'd consulted with a lawyer about my financial abuse and how I couldn't just abandon family financial obligations without notice. I listened to his voicemail twice, partly in disbelief and partly in admiration for the creative legal theory. The idea that voluntarily stopping payments I'd never been obligated to make in the first place could somehow constitute abandonment was so absurd it was almost impressive. But it also showed me how desperate they were getting and how little they understood about what they'd lost, because this wasn't about money, not really. This was about recognition, about value, about being treated like a person whose feelings and milestones mattered. The money was just the tool they'd given me to show them the disparity. For 10 years, they'd been perfectly happy to take my financial support while giving me nothing meaningful in return. No emotional support, no presence at important events, no consideration for my needs or feelings. I'd been a useful resource, not a beloved family member. Friday brought the guilt trip to end all guilt trips. My dad called. He rarely called anyone for anything, so I knew this was the big guns. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to his message with a mix of curiosity and dread. Jessica. His voice was tired, older than I remembered. I don't understand what's happening here, but your mother is very upset. She had to borrow money from her sister to get car insurance, and she's embarrassed and hurt. I know you girls had some kind of disagreement about a party, but this seems like an overreaction. Your family needs you, sweetheart. We've always been able to count on you, and we don't understand why that's changed. Please call me back so we can work this out. Your family needs you. There it was, the assumption that had governed our relationship for decades. They needed me, so I should provide. They were family, so I should sacrifice. They had problems, so I should solve them. But what about what I needed? What about when I needed them to show up, to care, to treat my milestones as worthy of their time and attention? I thought about that message for a long time. Part of me, the old Jessica, the people pleaser, the fixer, wanted to call him back, wanted to explain and compromise and find some middle ground that would make everyone happy. But the new Jessica, the one who was finally learning to value herself, knew better. There was no middle ground with people who saw you as a resource rather than a person. There was no compromise with people who thought their needs always trumped yours. The weekend brought the final escalation, the intervention. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after my failed baby shower, my entire family showed up at my house. Not just Mom, Dad, Emma and Mike, but also my Aunt Carol, my cousin Jennifer, and even my elderly grandmother, who rarely left her house for anything. I watched from the upstairs window as they gathered on my front lawn like some kind of dysfunctional flash mob. My grandmother was in her wheelchair looking confused but determined. My Aunt Carol was clearly the ringleader, gesturing dramatically as she organised everyone. The doorbell rang, then the knocking started, then multiple voices calling my name. Jessica, we're not leaving until you talk to us. This is your grandmother. Open this door. We drove 3 hours to get here. I sat in my nursery, surrounded by the peaceful blues and yellows I'd chosen for my baby's room, and felt a profound sense of calm. A year ago, this level of family drama would have sent me into a panic. I would have opened the door immediately, apologised for causing trouble, and done whatever it took to restore peace. Now, I just felt sad for them, sad that they'd driven all this way without understanding the real issue. Sad that they dragged my elderly grandmother into their financial crisis. Sad that even now, faced with the consequences of their actions, they were doubling down instead of reflecting. After an hour of noise and drama, they finally left, but not before my Aunt Carol shouted through the door. This is elder abuse, Jessica. Your grandmother depends on this family, and you're destroying it over a stupid party. elder abuse. Over stopping voluntary payments I'd never been asked to make in the first place. I sat in the quiet after they left and felt something I'd never felt before, completely, utterly done. That evening I did something I should have done years ago. I wrote them a letter. Not an angry letter, not a mean letter, but a clear one. I explained everything, the years of feeling unimportant, the pattern of being taken for granted, the financial support they'd never acknowledged or appreciated, and yes, the baby shower that had been the final straw. I explained that this wasn't about money, but about respect. It wasn't about one missed party, but about 30 years of missed connections. It wasn't about punishment, but about self-preservation. I told them that I was building a new life for my family, my husband and my baby, and that life would be built on mutual respect, genuine care, and people showing up for each other when it mattered. I ended with this: I don't hate you, I don't wish you ill, but I'm done being the person you turn to when you need something while being the person you ignore when I need something. I'm worth more than that. My baby deserves a mother who knows her worth. I didn't send the letter. I wasn't ready for that level of confrontation yet. But writing it felt like closing a door that had been open too long, letting in too much cold air. 3 months later, I was holding my daughter in my arms, looking into her perfect little face, when my phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "Congratulations on the baby. We saw the announcement on Facebook. She's beautiful. We'd like to meet her." I looked at my daughter, healthy, perfect, surrounded by people who had shown up for her birth, people who valued both of us, and felt nothing but peace. I didn't respond to the text. Instead, I kissed my daughter's forehead and whispered, "You're going to grow up in a family that shows up, sweetheart. You're going to know what it feels like to be someone's priority." In the 3 months since I'd stopped funding their lives, I'd saved nearly $3,000, money that was now in my daughter's college fund, money that would pay for her music lessons, her sports equipment, her school trips, money that would go to people who valued me as much as I valued them. My family still sent occasional messages, birthday wishes, holiday greetings, requests to talk things through. But I'd learned something important in those months of silence. Peace was worth more than their approval. Self-respect was worth more than their comfort. My daughter's future was worth more than their immediate needs. Sometimes the family you build is more important than the family you're born into. Sometimes walking away isn't cruelty. It's survival. And sometimes the best gift you can give your child is a mother who finally learned to value herself. Have you ever been taken for granted by the people who were supposed to love you most? Have you ever been someone's ATM but not their priority? Share your story in the comments below. You're not alone, and your worth isn't determined by what you can do for other people. You deserve to be someone's priority, not just their convenience. And it's never too late to start treating yourself that way.